In this week's drive, we take a spin in a NASCAR, go to the wall in a Merc, farewell a champion, and slide all the way. All this and more in this week's drive. We start with the third round of the World Class 1 Powerboat Championships held off Plymouth in England. These are the big, powerful and very fast offshore races with twin 1,000-horsepower engines, a two-man crew and top speeds of well over 200 kilometers an hour. The sport dates from 1956 and the marathon open water races between Nassau and Miami. After taking their third consecutive pole position, Bjorn Gelston and Steve Curtis made it 2 wins in a row in their Lamborghini-powered number 10 boat, Spirit of Norway. The team led from start to finish, covering the 106 nautical mile course in 58 minutes, 18 seconds. The Dubai-based Victory team had to settle for second and third best, with Nasser and Al-Kwami in Victory 7 edging out Altair and Al-Mari in Victory 1. Behind the leading trio, Riviera and Jotun battled for 4th and 5th, with Australians Barry Cotter and Lingard in Riviera holding their own until lap 5 when fuel injection problems forced them to slow, allowing Jotun to pass. Damas was also forced out after a good showing and Riviera reclaimed 4th place. Of 11 boats that started, only 6 finished, with Binautica and Rossioli Hotels disqualified for missing turn buoys. The teams now head to Oslo, Norway for the 4th race in the 8-round series, with Gelston and Curtis 2 points ahead of Victory 7 in the race for the world title. Michael Andretti is the most successful driver in kart history, here taking his 41st win at Toronto in mid-July. Now, Michael is buying his own team from owner Barry Green, but sponsorship will decide which series he contests next year, kart or the Indy Racing League.
I've been working and talking for a long time that, I wanted to look beyond my driving years and set up a future for myself, still staying involved in auto racing. And when this opportunity came up with Barry, I just jumped at it, and I'm just so excited to be a part of this team. It's been a great 2 years that I've been here, and I got to say it's the best team I've ever driven for. The talent that they have here is the best, I believe, in the world, and I'm just really glad to be a part of it now for many, many more years to come.
He approached Green towards the end of last season about buying the team, and a deal was completed in April at Long Beach, where Andretti was also the winner. Barry Green founded his team with Jerry Forsyth in 1994 and has 19 kart victories as an owner. We stay in the US now for a win from the back at Loudon in New Hampshire. On lap 60, Elliott Sadler fell victim to the poor track surface and spun through 360, but recovered without hitting anything. Seen from his point of view, it's a miracle he didn't slam into the wall. He went on to finish 10th.
That was the one that almost got him. Hey, remember last as well.
Later, it was Casey Atwood and John Andretti who got tangled up when Atwood turned sideways into Andretti, and they both hit the wall to bring out another of the 14 caution flags in the race.
To get stopped.
But some pretty serious damage in the 7 car, looks like.
Yeah, that's pretty serious. We sound like a broken record.
It got worse when Tony Stewart, running 4th, slid up the track in turn 4 and straight into the wall on lap 123. An angry Stewart refused to visit the track's medical center, instead going to his motorhome and refusing to talk to anybody about the crash. Dale Earnhardt Jr. brought out the final caution by hitting Todd Bodine and spinning out with 14 laps to go. By this time, Ward Burton had worked up from 31st place to 2nd.
Clouded in smoke. The point leader Sterling Marlin weaving back and forth. Leader Ward Burton is 2nd. Dale Jarrett is 3rd.
Then, with 10 laps to go, Burton passed Matt Kenseth to take the lead, and moments later, Kenseth had to pit after losing a tyre. He finished 33rd. That gave Burton a fairly comfortable win after a storming drive through the field. Burton has had a poor campaign since winning the season-opening race, the Daytona 500. And he'd come to New Hampshire with just 2 other top 10 finishers. Jeff Green took a career-best 2nd place. In contrast to the packed stands at Loudon, a small ASCAR field lined up before empty stands at the Euro Speedway in Lausitz in Germany. Briton Darren Turner leads from Jason Plato. Frenchman Nicolas Manassian retired just after half distance with mechanical failure. Throughout the race, Turner had to contend with early leader Darren Manning. On lap 31, Anthony Swan takes the expensive way out of the race and hits the wall, all on his own. 11 laps from the end, Turner powers past Colin White to take the lead. From there, it was Turner all the way as he pulled clear and went on to record an emphatic victory by more than 4 seconds from John Mickle. Jason Plato, Manning, White and Kelvin Burt filled out the remaining top 6 places. Sunday's win was Turner's 3rd straight ASCAR victory and his 2nd of the weekend. Current championship leader Colin White maintained his position, finishing 4th. McLaren Mercedes drivers David Coulthard and Kimi Räikkönen took a break from their hectic Formula One schedule to visit a Mercedes test facility in Sindelfingen in Germany. 2/3 through the season, they're still eyeing Williams BMW's 2nd place in the Constructors' Championship. But away from the track, the drivers tried out a virtual reality simulation of crash tests of current and future road cars. Coulthard eased himself into a virtual reality car seat used in the Mercedes design process and obviously enjoyed the extra space it provided.
This is much more comfortable than what I normally have.
Despite the drivers' amiability at the centre, McLaren Mercedes have had a problematic season with 10 retirements in the 12 rounds so far and have lost their place as Ferrari's main challengers to Williams BMW. The visit to the crash test facility was an eye-opener for the pair. In the modern high-tech world of Formula One, there's a limited connection between the ordinary road car and the V10 monsters that Coulthard and Räikkönen get to drive. But they were given a reminder of just how dangerous their sport can be when they witnessed a test to validate road car safety designs.
I think it was really nice to see it on live because I have only seen it on a TV or somewhere, but once you see it from a couple of meters when the car hits the concrete wall on almost 60 kilometers per hour, it's quite a big impact, but still you look at the car afterwards and it stays really good in the shape and looks very safe.
Watch again as the expensive German car crumples and airbags deploy to protect the occupants inside. Afterwards, the drivers met some of the 9,000 staff at Sindelfingen and left with a new understanding of what goes on in the design studio. Fresh from winning his 5th Formula One World Championship, Michael Schumacher was in Mannheim in Germany to play in a charity football match. The money raised would go to the United Nations cultural organisation, UNESCO. Schumacher was due to don the goal-scoring boots worn by Ronaldo in the World Cup final, but the boots didn't make the journey. Perhaps it was best. It was hard enough for the Germans to lose in the final, and seeing the boots again would only rub salt into the wound. 20,000 fans came to Mannheim to see a star-studded lineup. Needless to say, the main attraction was Michael Schumacher, and not surprisingly, his shirt was Ferrari red. Schumacher's wife Corinne was eager to take part too and showed she's got a good left foot. The first goal came courtesy of the All-Stars team and former Austrian striker Toni Polster. It was a strike worthy of any Bundesliga match. Not to be outdone, Schumacher collected the ball deep in his own half and ran at the heart of the midfield. He latched onto the return pass with just the keeper to beat, but was denied by Andreas Kopka, who managed to parry his drive. But Schumi's effort wasn't in vain because Spain's Fernando Alonso, the test driver for Renault, pounced Raúl style to score from the rebound. Former German national team captain Lothar Matthaus was watching from the bench, and he would have been proud of that run. This game promised goals, and the players didn't disappoint. It went to 3-3 at half-time, and there was plenty more after the interval. The fans wanted to see if their Formula One hero could get his name on the score sheet, and he duly obliged with a typical ice-cool finish. The fans came in their thousands. Schumacher walked off with keeper Kopke, and for the record, the match finished 8-all. Formula One driver Jenson Button has signed a $7.5 million deal to join British-American racing next year. The 22-year-old Briton is likely to replace Olivier Panis as teammate to Jacques Villeneuve. When BAR team boss Dave Rischards learnt that Button was available, he grabbed him.
Well, you know, you've only got to look around and see how rare a talent like Jenson's comes available. And when that happens, you don't mess about. You make decisions, and you make decisions quickly. He's just got that rare balance between the sort of enormous potential of a 22-year-old young driver and yet that experience that 3 years in Formula One's given him.
Button will be competing for his third team in 4 years when he leaves Renault.
I firmly believe Jenson is potential world champion, the next British world champion, in fact. And you know, you see that commitment from him. And I've known a lot of drivers in my time, watched how they all behave, and totally convinced of Jenson's long-term ability.
David Rischards, he's done a fantastic job over the last 6 months with the team. He's changed a lot of things around already. It's also a very young team. You know, it's going to grow over the next few years with the management of David. And you know, in Formula One, it's very difficult to trust people, and he is one person I trust, and he really sticks to his word. He's achieved in every other thing he's competed in beforehand, so I can't see why he won't be positive in Formula One.
Button said he was impressed by the BAR team and feels they can help him achieve his ambitions.
We've got Honda behind us for next year, and it's a very, very strong package. Other teams possibly could have offered more money, but you know, I want to be world champion. I don't want to. That's not what I'm aiming for. I want to be world champion and win races, and this is the team that I'm going to do it with.
BAR are 7th in the Constructors' title, and Button is 7th in the Drivers' Championship. As one enters, one leaves. Former world champion Mika Häkkinen has confirmed his retirement from Formula One, ending suggestions of a possible comeback. The Finn, champion with McLaren in 1998 and 99, announced his decision in a video filmed at his lakeside summer home and shown by McLaren at a news conference confirming their driver lineup for 2003.
So in 2001 in Monaco Grand Prix, I went to see the run in the motorhome, and I felt it that way. I want to stop, basically. And when I went to see him, Ron was really good. You know, he came me to idea that way. Mika, don't make quick decision. Think about it, and why don't we do this way? Have a 1 year off, and come back to me later on, 2002, and tell me what you want to do then. You know, for some people it can be very difficult to motivate yourself if you know about what you planning to do. But I had races what I wanted to win, and it was definitely a Silverstone, and it was definitely Indianapolis. So I went to these Grand Prix with maximum confidence, of course. And I won them. I won both of these Grand Prix, and I cannot really explain it, why it happened and how I was able to do it. It just happened.
The sabbatical failed to change his mind, and the Finn said a visit to this year's race at Monaco only strengthened his original decision.
Then it came 2002, Monaco Grand Prix, and I went to see Ron and said, I do like to complete retirement, and I was very grateful to him. He gave me that opportunity to think about it, and now it was the time to retire, and it's time to stop.
The retirement for me is a very heavy word, especially when I think about Mika being 34 years old and somebody says he's going to retire. It's quite shocking, and I'm not thinking about it the way that retirement is really the word to use, because he's young and he can do things in his life and in the future. It's sort of life without no plans.
I would say the decision was more about, you know, the time I want to spend with the family, to see the Hugo growing, spend time with my wife, And I simply also didn't want to hurt myself. I've been so much through in my career in Formula One, particularly in '95. So I did achieve so much. I thought it's not worth it anymore to push your luck further.
Asia and Hugo will be seeing a lot more of Mika from now on. Last year, David Coulthard and test driver Alexander Wirtz joined Mika at the launch of the season's new car. Mika has been replaced by his countryman Kimi Räikkönen. Häkkinen won 20 Grand Prix in his 11-year and 161-race career. He and Coulthard spent 6 seasons together, the longest Formula One partnership, and the Scot wished his old friend well. Häkkinen was 5 times Finnish national karting champion, then became the Nordic Formula Ford champion in 1987. He moved to England and became Formula 3 champion in 1989 and 1990. He moved up to Formula 1 in 91 and joined McLaren in 93. He won the opening round of the Lotus Euro Series at Zandvoort in 1988, clinching the title with a 3rd place at Jerez in Spain. In Formula 1, Mika was teammate to the brilliant Brazilian Ayrton Senna, the triple world champion who died at the wheel of his Williams in 1994. Mika raced 95 times before his first Grand Prix win at the 97 European, but he took 8 victories in 98 to beat Schumacher to the title by 14 points. He backed it up, beating Eddie Irvine by 2 points the next year after Schumacher broke his leg. The 6th round of the World Speedway Series was run in Prague in the Czech Republic. Australian Jason Crump lined up for the final against countryman Ryan Sullivan and 4 times world champion Tony Rischards and American Greg Hancock. Crump led from the start, holding off an early strong challenge from Hancock to win his first Grand Prix of the year. Jason varied his lines a lot, thwarting his opposition as they tried to outmaneuver him. Fellow Australian Sullivan was 3rd, with World Grand Prix points leader Tony Rischards trailing back in 4th. The 25 points that Crump scored for the win moves him up to 3rd place in the standings with a total of 95. Sullivan's 3rd place takes him into a tie for the overall lead with Rischards on 112, while Hancock is back in 8th place on 62. Australian sports fans seem to turn up everywhere, and they always seem to have a flag to wave. Not a bad stunt when you think that speedway bikes don't have rear suspension, gears, or brakes. The next Speedway Grand Prix in the 10-event series is in Gothenburg in Sweden at the end of August. Burnt rubber, sharp turns and clouds of smoke. Making your mark seems to be half the fun. The Russian passion for speed and fast cars has led to a new craze of street racing, and so popular are the races that the police seem to have a hands-off policy to the illegal gatherings. What's really scary is the number of parked cars and pedestrians standing nearby, and everyone gets to smell, taste and maybe even wear the burning rubber. In the long evenings of the summer in northern cities like St. Petersburg, car enthusiasts take to the streets after work for a bit of high-octane fun. It's certainly a run what you brung kind of meeting. This event attracts hundreds to an industrial area outside the city. Trams aren't very fast, but they are very heavy. Spectators stock up on beer and grab the choice spots just inches off the road where cars race at speeds of up to 200 kilometers an hour. One man is designated to be the starter and pretends to be a human version of a drag strip Christmas tree. In this race, the black BMW wins, neither of them. The races are arranged through a network of contacts and internet websites, but they are officially illegal. Street racing in St. Petersburg is organised by Tank.
All sorts of cars come here, from Zigulis to the latest types of Nissan Skylines and super types of Toyotas of up to 1,000 horsepower. All sorts of different types of cars. This is a place where anyone can drive up.
Only since the collapse of communism have imported cars appeared in cash-strapped Russia. This Porsche 911 Cabrio is worth a fortune wherever its owner lives, but he came to profile, not to race. The impromptu street racing scene has spawned a significant industry of performance engine builders and tuners, many working from backyards or cramped garages. All are keen to build the winning car, and the short summer sees the fruits of months of winter labour. The mechanic who builds the most powerful engines will have no shortage of willing customers. Improvisation is the name of the game in a country where most parts are still repaired rather than simply replaced. And in the evening, it's all go, go, go as revved-up drivers square off again and again. It's the beer, the atmosphere and the scene that seem to attract much of the youth.
This is a rush. You know, it is what we don't get enough of in our daily life. We get caught up in the regular grind and we need this thrill, this adrenaline.
The current champions are a Mitsubishi Lancer and a BMW M5, but on a dark evening race course in the summer, not many of the racing fans seem to care who wins or loses.
More than anything else, it's a thrill to be here and imagine yourself in the driver's seat. It doesn't matter if it's a Volga or a Mercedes.
Foreign cars dominate. Though Russians describe themselves as patriotic, these racers aren't fans of their domestic cars. Russian Ladas and Vaz cars are the type that usually splutter down the road, not like German Audis, BMWs and Mercedes models, which scream off the starting line. As long as the races are organised to be reasonably safe and keep out of the city limits, then the police flash their lights and drive by, asking the racers to crash themselves outside city limits. And the racers answer with a long, loud applause. We'll end this week on that enthusiastic note. But so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.